I hope this article that I'm going to read to you about the white genocide in South Africa will find its way all over South Africa and over the world. I ask you to send this link to all those people overseas that is English and can listen to this so that we can work against the disinformation of the leftist media. Now, this is an article for the international audience written by Paul Hatting. I thank him so that I can read it for you. And this is all about the war of the flea. What is this war of the flea? You have to understand. The war of the flea, a study of guerrilla warfare theory and practice. A guerrilla warfare is the extension of politics by means of armed conflict. So there's small gangs that 8 to 10 or 12 black men in a gang that target a defenseless farmer and his wife. A family on a farm is an extension of the radical economic transformation agenda of the government, by which it's Marxism and communism, by which they want to take all the land. But they will start with the lands of the white man. So this is all about the government, this armed conflict. Guerrilla fighters are political partisans, armed civilians whose main weapons are their relationships to the communities in and for which they fight. They are there for the so-called black man and the black communities. This is it's not about that. It's all about this system of radical economic transformation, which is a communist system to take all the land. Main weapons are their relationships to the... Okay, excuse me. The strength of the guerrilla lie in their mobility, flexibility, endless sources of manpower, and the fact that time works in their favor. So small gangs gang up on old people, and then they've got this very violent attack on white farmers. So this is all about the Hornshoe dissertation that was written in 27. A South African academic, namely Veronica Hornshoe, submitted a dissertation that should have shaken the foundations of the country's justice system, titled A Victimological Investigation of Farm Attacks with specific reference to farmers' perceptions. Now, it offered a chilling systematic exploration of the violence sweeping through the South African rural heartlands. Now, 18 years later, we are still there. It's just become worse. The pattern she documented has not only continued, it has worsened, deepened, and been normalized through denial, political posturing, and systematic negligence by the government. The angle, this is not simply about crime, this is about state-enabled, racialized violence, deliberate erasure, and the psychological dismantling of a people group under the guise of transformation, justice, and redistribution. It's all about communism. This is a communist playbook that we are seeing here. This is about the white farming minority, mostly Afrikaans-speaking South Africans, targeted not just for their possessions, but for their presence. The fact that they are here are a big problem for this black government. That is why we get all these laws against white people. Let's see, racial reality. Then all the attacks in 27 were documented were black on white, not white on black. It's not whites that attack black farmers or black townships. It's blacks that attacks whites. This pattern has remained consistent. Government and media continue to downplay the racial dimension, calling it ordinary crime, which is not. But official SAPS data still shows a racial asymmetry, with black attackers and white victims dominating the statistics. Extreme violence. Remember, it's the war of the flea. Then torture, rape, mutilation, and murder, often in front of family members. Now that same horror persists. 20 years later, boiling water poured down throats of people, women raped in front of husbands, children shot execution style. These are not robberies gone wrong. These are brutal punishments meant to instill fear and break generational resistance. Then another one, the victim isolation. Victims felt helpless, unsupported, and overwhelmed by fear. Now add to that state betrayal, hate speech from leaders, and a legal system that increasingly targets farmers as the villains through land exploration laws, racial employment quotas, and targeted police exclusions. Farmers are now not just physically vulnerable, but politically expendable. What is the motive of the attackers? Then maybe robbery, revenge, opportunism. Add now racial indoctrinations, kill the boer, kill the farmer. It's not hate speech in South Africa to say that. You can sing it everywhere, but you cannot say kill the black man. If you do that, you will be locked up and put in jail. So we have racial indoctrination by the government, by political leaders, political incitement, and so-called land nationalism. Chants like kill the boer are not just sung, they are echoed in blood. The chant is normalized, defended, and even protected under heritage that normalize genocide. State collusion and denial. Hornsey already noted the government's failure to protect farmers in 2007, and it's now worse. In 2025, that failure has evolved into sabotage. Over 157 laws discriminate against white South Africans in job, tenders, land ownership, and defense. So if you write a law and the word race is in that law, it's a race-based law. It shouldn't be difficult for stupid people to understand. Expropriation without compensation has moved from theory to practice. We already see that. The ruling party sponsors rhetoric that portrays farmers as land thieves, dehumanizing language that primes the public to justify their deaths. Police often arrive late, if at all. Investigations go nowhere and prosecutions are rare. So these people get scot-free just to murder again. Why does the world stay silent? Had these attacks been black Americans in Mississippi or Palestinians in Gaza or Muslims in France, there would have been an outrage. But because the victims are white and because they are falsely painted as privileged, their trauma is dismissed. There is no Black Lives Matter for them. No, there's no White Lives Matter. No CNN special, no UN tribunal. There is only the body count and the excuses. Hate speech and then slaughter. Hornsey warned that the hate speech precedes the violence. Today we see this on national stages. Kill the Boer is still sung at political rallies. School children are taught that colonialism must be undone. Land reform is equated with revenge, and yet the world watches and yawns. What is the psychological cost? Well, there's no farmers almost left, so we are going for a famine. People immigrate to other countries, people flee. We've got now the refugee program from the Americans. Very soon South Africa will be a second Zimbabwe. So what is the final word? This is not merely about farmers, it's about civilization, about law, about human dignity. When hard-working, food-producing families are hunted, raped and slaughtered, and the world applauds their erasure as justice, we have crossed a line. Almost the same line we have crossed in the Jewish state for justice and collective punishment of Palestinians. It's the same thing. Hornsey research exposed the early symptoms. What followed was preventable. What continues is unforgivable. And what comes next? That depends on whether truth still matters. Now, I can tell you what will come next. We will have very soon in South Africa a mass genocide of white people very soon. A bloody revolution with dying people lying in streets, and nobody is going to hold any funerals. We will become a second Rwanda very, very soon. And this is a promise that even Julius Malema is making. And this is a prophecy that I am making. This will come for South Africa, and then it will be too late for the world to do anything about it. But maybe that is the plan. Maybe that is the plan.